Thank you, Ola, for your introduction. And as you know, first of all, I would like thanks to Reach 24H Group and Camlink and your efforts to make this possible for this event, to make the event possible. So today I will discuss the few topics related to the FMCS Foreign Manufacturer Certification Scheme, and I will more focus on the FMCS. I am not including a lot of things related to the domestic. I am not including in this webinar. Maybe in future we can focus on the domestic part. And in our nation, Bharat, the festive season is going on. So I just want to say Happy Diwali to all of the attendees in advance. Before in advance of this, the event. And okay, so these are the topics. Today topics like introduction to the BIS Act and the regulations. And I will tell you what is the Bureau of Indian Standards and when the Act and the regulations came into force. Then I will go to the the role and responsibilities of authorized Indian representative. Then we'll discuss the step-by-step guidance how you will get the BIS certifications. What are the major part of the BIS application process, and then we'll focus on the costing part. So it will involve the the BIS cost and authority fee. And then what are the post license obligations under the BIS Act and the regulations. And then definitely we'll cover the mandatory Manak online portal entry requirement, which is required, as per the Act and regulation, after getting the license. And then we'll, cover the license renewal procedures and the comprehensive document checklist required for the renewal documents. And then we'll, cover the key regulatory challenges. Even I will also include the updates and the recent BIS trends and the important compliance deadlines and more. So hope everyone will get the deep and dive insight into the BIS FMCS certification process into the event. And if you have any questions in the QA session, we will give you the proper time to answer all the queries. So first of all, I just want to introduce the BIS, the department. So BIS is the national standard body of India, which is developed under the BIS Act 2016 and the regulations known as BIS Conformity Assessment Regulation 2018. So if I am talking about the brief, some history of this standard body. So firstly, it was introduced in 1947, and initially it was known as the Indian Standard Institutions, and later on the BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standard, the name has been came up with the BIS Act 1986 through a Parliament Act. And then in 1987 they expand their the scope in the product certification systems and to aware about the promotion of the standards and the formulations like that. And the now whole BIS Act 1986 superseded by the BIS Act 2016, and then the regulations was developed properly, BIS Conformity Assessment Regulation 2018. And BIS include product certification and the system certification and is regulated by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So this is the national standard body of India. BIS certification can be either mandatory or voluntary. Mandatory certifications requires that after the implementation date of the product, and certification must be obtained before importing or producing in India as per the BIS Act. So BIS certification particularly ensure the quality, safety, and reliability of the products, which is entering into the Indian market. So most of the products are now under the mandatory certification scheme. And if I am talking about the statistics about the Indian standards, so around 23,000 plus Indian standards has been published by the BIS department, and they are divided into the product wise categories as of now. And suppose if I am taking an example of the mandatory certification scheme, so BIS is implementing the product day by day or monthly basis, and a new QCO is publishing every month. So you need to keep the update of every the BIS Indian standards, new Indian standards, and also for the QCO. So around 40, the ministries are involved in the different product categories. They are developing and formulating the Indian standards, and drafting the Indian standard and sending to the WTO. And after the stakeholder consultations, and finally the BIS issuing the quality control order. And after the publishing the QCO, that product included into the mandatory list of the BIS certification. So if I am taking an example today, so the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, which is dealing with the chemical part, and they are publishing the QCOs for the chemical. Similarly, there are different ministries are mentioned in these slides. So they are working on a different sector. So now I will, come to this slide where I will tell who will be the, the obligator as per the BIS standard and the act, So the BIS is mainly applicable on the domestic manufacturer and the foreign manufacturer. It is not, applying on the traders or something else, but it is purely based on the manufacturer thing. So if I am talking about the foreign manufacturer certification scheme, they have, they need to appoint a authorized Indian representative to submit the application for their product category to the BIS department. And export is exempted. Suppose if I am, the Indian-based company and I want export my product into different countries, so that means the different countries regulation will be applicable on our product. So that's why export is exempted. So there is a provision under the handbook procedures by published by the DGFT. Export oriented unit is totally exempted under the BIS, the QCO thing. And if I am talking about the the foreign manufacturer, the certification scheme, so authorized Indian representative have the they need to meet some eligibility criteria like that, like AIR shall be an Indian resident, and AIR shall be preferably at least graduate by the qualification, and AIR should be able to understand the regulation, and AIR will represent one foreign manufacturer unit only at a time. But however, in case of foreign manufacturer belonging to one group of companies and the importers nominating as an AIR, the restrictions, will be, the omitted. So it shall not be applicable in this case. Now, come to the next slide. So before understanding the BIS Act and regulations, these are the three key documents, which you need to understand. And the first one is the Indian standard, and the second one is the product manual, and the third one is the quality control order. So I am taking an example of the lauric acid. Suppose you are the manufacturers in the the foreign entity, and you want to supply lauric acid in India. So you need to follow the Indian standards because they mentioned some parameter for your product category into the the Indian standard. So first you need to identify the Indian standard for your product category, and all the parameters like testing parameters or the testing equipments and the calibration things, you need to follow each and every step as per the Indian standards. So then the second thing is the product manual. Product manual is mostly known as the scheme of inspection and the testing plan. So most of the time, the officers who will audit the manufacturing premises in the foreign manufacturing unit, so they will follow the product manual. They in this product manual they mention the grouping guidelines, like how the testing will be performed. So they mention each and every things in the product manual. And the third part is the quality control order. So the quality control order signifies like the product is required the mandatory certification. And if I am opening in a QCO in the quality control order document, so you will find the enforcement date for that in a particular product category. So if I am taking an example of lauric acid, and you can see there is a this order shall come into force on the 24th day of April, like that they will mention the date in the quality control order. That means after this date, you can't do the business in India without any BIS certifications. So that is the the quality control order. So these are the three key documents which need to understand by the manufacturer to complete the BIS application process. And then now I will, cover what type of the schemes under the BIS Act and regulations. So I majorly, involved four schemes, and there are a lot of schemes under the BIS Act and the regulation. But as of now, we are covering these four major schemes. The one is a ISI scheme, and the ISI scheme is, the very big portfolio, I can say. They covered, the cement, chemicals, fertilizers, polymers, household electrical goods, metals, and alloys, batteries, etc. And suppose if any foreign manufacturer want to, apply under these schemes, so the inspection will be required in the premises. So the auditor will be, appointed by the BIS. They will visit to the foreign manufacturer premises, and then they will, check all the things as per the Indian standards, and they will generate the test reports, and maybe they can withdraw the samples and send to the testing labs in India, which is, recognized by the BIS. So they will generate the testing reports, and if everything is okay, then they can grant the license. Similarly, you can get the license like ISI scheme in Scheme X or certificate of conformity, because the inspection is required in these three schemes. But if I am talking about the compulsory registration scheme, which is known as a Scheme 2 of the BIS, majorly covering electronic products, and only three chemicals are listed as of now. And so the Scheme 2 is not required an inspection. Just you need to send your sample into the BIS recognized lab, and the BIS labs will generate the testing reports, and along with that testing reports, you need to apply the license through the application portal, BIS application portal. And then if everything is fine, then you can get the license within two and a half the months. So the Scheme X, I just want to discuss a little bit more here, because this is newly introduced scheme, and it is covering two major parts. One is the low voltage switch gear and the control gear, and this category already implemented, and phase, I can say that implementation done the phase wise. They give the timelines for each categories, so you can follow the QCO for that. And if I am talking about the omnibus technical regulation, OTR, which is covering majorly the heavy machineries and the equipments and the heavy industries. So that's why the whole OTR regulations line ministry is the Ministry of Heavy Industries, and in this case also the inspection required. And if I am specially talking about the heavy industries, so that will be the implementation date is 2026, September 2026. Now come to the the application process for the Scheme 1, which is known as ISI scheme. Before that application process, I just want to give an example of the chemicals, like how many chemicals are under the Scheme 1. So there are around 69 chemicals at the present. You can see in the slide, I mentioned the 66 chemicals, but if you go through the serial number 39, they have, categorized 1, 2, 3 parts. So that's why total 69 chemicals, I can say. And three chemicals, withdraw recently by the BIS department. These are the acetic acid, aniline, and methanol. And so now only 66 chemicals are under, the mandatory certification schemes, and more than half of the chemicals already, the implemented, and some of, the chemicals still postponed by the DCPC, Department of Chemical and Petrochemical. And in near futures, the list could be increased, so that these lists, require the mandatory certification from the BIS department. So now I will cover, the general application process for the foreign manufacturer certification scheme. So the first part is the application documents preparation. So at this step, we need to identify the right Indian standard for our product, and we need to check like the QCO for that product category is already published or not. Suppose if your chemical is or maybe another product category, not the QCO is not published, so that means you can wait for some time for the mandatory certification. And you can also go for the voluntary certification scheme if the Indian standard is available for your product. So you will prepare all the documents, application required documents, like the business certificate, and you need to give the product details. You need to provide the safety data sheet, plant layout, manufacturing process flowchart, testing equipments, and the testing equipment calibration status reports, like that. You need to, so there are a lot of documents required along with the authorized Indian representative letters, which is, we need to fill out in the BIS official templates. So after submitting all the documents, if I am talking about the documents, so around 30 documents will be required at the initial stage. So we will submit to the BIS department through authorized Indian representative. Then you will get the acknowledgement number from the Bureau of Indian Standards. And the Bureau of Indian Standards, after getting the acknowledgement number, the Bureau of Indian Standards will scrutinize all the documents. So we can track our application status using that acknowledgement number. And we can communicate with the BIS department through emails, and we can check like where our, the application process is going on. And during the scrutinization phase, if they, found any gaps in the documents which we submitted at the initial stage, so they will give the timeline. So the manufacturer needs to complete all the deficiency within the time frame. And if we fulfill all the requirement which is, raised during the scrutinization phase, then the BIS will issue the pre-inspection letter. And that pre-inspection letter will include the cost and the audit, the charges. And that charges, the client will, the manufacturer will pay all the charges. And then finally inspection letter will be issued by the BIS department that will, tell us who will inspect the premises. So all after the allotment of the inspector, then hotel flight booking support will be provided by the authorized Indian representative to the inspector, so they can get, the all the things on timely manner. And then the officers will visit to the factory, and they will inspect all the products, as per the product manual, as I mentioned in my previous slides. And they will withdraw the sample, and the samples will be, sent to the BIS recognized labs. And the BIS recognized lab will check, all the testing parameters as per the Indian standards, and then they will issue the test reports and will submit to the BIS department. And if everything is fine, then the BIS department will issue the certificate of the license. So that is, the process involved in the FMCS certification scheme. So the whole process could take around 6 months, roughly, I can say. And if I am talking about the post-licensing activities, so after getting the license, the task is not finished yet. You need to continue. The post-licensing obligations are there as per the BIS Act and regulations. So you need to, submit the agreement, indemnity bond, and the performance bank guarantee of 10,000 USD. And then you can apply the labeling part on your product, like you are confirming that Indian standards, and on the label you will represent, the license number and the product Indian standard, along with the, the BIS website, as mentioned in the product manual, as also in the Indian standard. Then you can, do the business in India. And one more important thing is the Manak online portal. That is very, very important step after getting the license, because you need to open the Manak online portal account like within 15 days around, after getting the license from the BIS department. And that Manak online portal, actually you need to fill each and every consignment entry into this portal. So suppose if you are exporting any product into India, so before reaching the, before arrival of that consignment in India port, you need to apply on the, the Manak online portal. You need to fill the quantity. So I will give you a little, little description about the Manak online portal in my next slide. So if I am talking about the Manak online portal, so suppose today you got the license, so within 15 days you need to, log in on that Manak online portal, and you need to go to the official website of the BIS, so where you will get, this portal. And here you need to create account, and they will ask, the general registration form like email and a confirm email and a password and name and date of birth. And if I am talking about the nationality, because it is the foreign manufacturer thing. So they need to fill the detail of the Indian representative as well and their contact address. So after that, they can go to the Manak Online portal, access the portal using login and password, use FMCS license number for tracking, and fill the export quantity for every consignment. So registration form, as I mentioned, it is including a brief, the registration detail like manufacturing email addresses or names and the company name like that. So after filling that form, you will, get the email like the information has submitted with the email ID like XYZ. This is the email and the mobile number. So you can check like, yeah, you have registered successfully on the Manak Online portal. Then you need to raise the license mapping request on the Manak Online portal. And that is, you need to fill out the license number which you received through the grant of the license. And you need to mention the firm name, firm address, and it will show the license status and the validity date. So it will show like the mapping request status, license mapping request pending for you. So the BIS department will check like the mapping request, like, yeah, your license is operative under this, the Manak Online portal. So after, getting the approval from the BIS department, you will get like this: license mapping request has been approved for you. And you will get, the standard name and the validity date of your license and license status showing operative and the firm name and the firm address like that. So this is, the guide to Manak Online portal. Now we'll come to the license details. Suppose username is ABCD0032 and the company name. So you need to enter consignment detail in the, the in this. You need to click on this part like enter consignment detail, where you will, see the normal detail. Like you need to fill out the product name, grades, and meal test certificates. You need to. And you need to, also you can generate the MTC ID, which is, the meal test certificate details. This is, the new update in the Manak Online portal where you can generate your MTC ID. So if you need any in-depth guidance for the MTC details as well, so you can contact, with our team. And now we'll come to the renewal. Like suppose you have completed the grant of the license, you have the Manak Online portal. Now you have spent almost 1 year, and now you want to go for the renewal. So there is a form 12 which is required for the renewal process under the Bureau of Indian Standard Foreign Manufacturer Certification Scheme. So you need to fill out the general information in this form, like the validity period or like that, and the renewal application fee and the annual license fee, marking fee. So marking fee, there is a portal where you can get the details of the minimum marking fee for your product. So when we need to apply, so there are the timeline mentioned at the BIS Act and Regulation. These are the 3 months prior to the expiry. And the validity of the license, a period of minimum 1 year and up to 5 years. But if I am talking about the current status now, so only license could be renewed only for 1 year. Every year you need to go for the renewal process. And now I will come to the document checklist for the renewal. So the form 2 is the main application form. And then the self-compliance report, there is a template provided by the BIS department where you need to fill the details. And the production statement, like month-wise production statement, you need to fill like in previous year how much the BIS goods you have produced for supplying to Indian market. And the production statements will be duly authenticated by the chartered accountant and the cost accountant on their letterhead, indicating the membership number along with the name of the unit, address, and actual quantity produced for the said period. And then the extended performance bank guarantee, because initially we just submitted the performance guarantee for 1 year, like the 10,000 USD, but you need to provide the extended performance bank guarantee, and the performance bank guarantee should be 6 months more than the actual validity of the license. So that is the main important thing. Then along with that, we need to provide the test records, because if you see the product manual, and there is a the section which is known as the proposed level of control, where you need to identify like when we need to finish the testing during the the operative period. So along with that, you need to provide the process flow chart, so they will match all the details along with the initial application. If there is any change in between, like in the production process flow or maybe the testing equipment, so you can communicate with the BIS department, and you can tell like, yeah, we have changed such type of the things, and they will issue the endorsement letter for the same. And the report of performance, we need to provide the report of performance, and the name, which divided into two parts. One is the name and address of all purchasers, and another one is the month-wise production statement. So if I am talking about the major document checklist, so additional compliance checks we need to complete, like any amendment in the Indian standard recorded in the past year, and we have implemented that Indian amendment in our manufacturing premises or not, and revise our latest product manual or SIT, like scheme of inspection and testing plan, testing as per the proposed level of the control, declarations and undertaking for the SIT acceptance if it is the latest one, and the calibration of the testing equipments, it should be fully calibrated, and the list of consignee, we need to maintain all the entry on the consignment portal, which is known as the Manak online portal. And now come to the fee applicable during the renewal, in the renewal process, like in the scheme 1. So first part is the renewal application fee around 1000 INR, and the renewal license fee 1000 INR. But you need to calculate the minimum marking fee, from official website, and that minimum marking fee you can get from the BS department as well if something is new, like because most of the product category is new, and if all India first license is not granted, so that minimum marking fee could be missed on that portal. And previous dues and other fee, if applicable, so you need to clear that fee. Now, if I am talking about the estimated cost for the BIS FMCS applications, so the initial application submission, that will be a cost around 1000 rupees, and it is approx 12 to 15 USD. And the pre-inspection letter will include the special visit charges, including inspection letter, per diem expenses for the BIS officers, charges for the visit, contingency fund, and charge toward airfare and visa. And the inspection, like the testing charges as applicable, because the inspector will withdraw the sample and they will send to the BIS reorganized lab, so the testing charges will be applicable as per the BIS labs. They will mention, you can check on the portal, there is a LIMS, there is a BIS LIMS portal where you can see the fee, estimated fee for your product, and the grant of the license, including minimum marking fee, annual license fee. And after the license, you need to submit the performance bank guarantee of 10,000 USD to the BIS department. Now we'll jump to the the second the scheme 2 of the BIS, as I mentioned, that cover majorly the electronics and the IT goods, and which is handled by the Ministry of Electronics and the Information Technology. And apart from that, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Responsible Authority for the solar photovoltaic systems and the devices and the components under compulsory registration scheme. And if I am talking about the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizer, there are only 3 chemicals, which is the QCO or the CRO will be published by the Department of Chemical and Petrochemical, and only one product belongs to the Ministry of Textile. So these 3 chemicals, if I am talking about the chemical industries, only 3 chemicals are there: orthophosphoric acid, polyphosphoric acid, and trimethyl phosphide. Now I will cover the general application process for the compulsory registration scheme. So as I mentioned, there is no inspection requirement under the compulsory registration scheme. So there is a fully online portal available for the BIS CRS scheme. So first you need to generate the login password credential on the compulsory registration scheme portal, and you need to fill the general detail about the registration form, and you need to upload the business registration certificate with some proof of ISO certification. And after that, you will get the login credential from the BIS department, and then you can, using that same portal, you can generate the test request for your product. So you can select the testing lab where you will send the sample to the BIS recognized labs, and they will issue the test reports, and BIS will issue the test reports, and then that test reports you need to submit along with the online submission of the application along with the test reports on portal. So that after that the BIS will scrutinize all of the documents, and if all the documents is fine, so the BIS will grant the license, and the whole process could take around 2.5 months approximately. And some of countries require as of now the NOC, no objection certificate, from the relevant line ministries, so that could take the extra time. And but if I am talking about the average time, and if there is no major queries raised by the BIS department during the scrutinization phase, so it will take around 2.5 months. Now I will cover the estimated cost for the compulsory registration scheme. So the first part is the application fee. It is around 12.5 USD, and annual license fee is around 12.5 USD. And application processing fee, inclusive one test reports, it will be around 600 USD, and the renewal application fee will be again 12 USD. So each every year you need to renew your license. Sometime they can renew for the 2 years. It's depend upon the BIS decision, and in case renewal is requested for more than 2 years, so it could be charged additionally, like per annum we can charge, the BIS can charge. And the fee of services, like you want to update the emails, or you want to change the AIR or address, you want to change the address of the manufacturing premises, and critical components list update. So each and every step you need to pay the fee, like 60 USD. And again, if I am talking about the testing of the product, so from the BIS recognized labs, so cost will vary as per the product category. So you can get the roughly estimation from the BIS website. Now I will jump to the scheme X of BIS, which is the newly introduced scheme. As I mentioned in my previous slide, there are two major product categories under the scheme X of the BIS. One is voltage and switch gear, for voltage and switch gear parts, and another one is the OTR. So today I will discuss more about the OTR regulation, which is newly introduced scheme for the heavy industries and the heavy equipments. And majorly that the scheme X OTR regulations covering chapter the HS code chapter 84 and 85, but not whole chapter. So so the line ministries for the scheme X is the Ministry of Heavy Industries, like they will issue the QCO for the heavy equipments, and BIS is the certification body for that. And HS code chapter 84 and chapter 85, it is covered under, recently it is covered under the the OTR regulations, and the implementation date is now postponed till September 2026. But after this date you need to get the license from the BIS department to continue their business in the heavy industries in India. So there is a pre-registration portal developed by the foreign manufacturer for the foreign manufacturer. So you need to register your account on the OTR portal, and you can submit the details to record your application status. So I will tell you the detailed application process in the next slide, like how we will initiate from the pre-registration step to the full registration step. And nowadays, actively you can go to the Ministry of Heavy Industries website, where you can get more updates about the announcement regarding the OTR regulations. And every month, actively, the BIS and the Ministry of Heavy Industries uh, doing the consultations, stakeholder consultations, and they are taking the comments from the industries and the associations and the councils, and they are improving the guidelines and the SOPs for the registration part. And they also notified like some of the product categories, the parts and the assemblies not required any BIS certificate as of now. Maybe later on the BIS will develop the Indian standard for the special categories like the parts or the assemblies. So you can go to the Ministry of Heavy Industries official website and you can get the more updates about that. Now I will go to the product categories. So there are the description of the machineries and the electric equipment. You can see there are 20 product categories which is covered under the chapter the 84 and 85. So these are the HS codes as of now covered under the OTR regulations. However, I mentioned some of the the product categories, assemblies, sub assemblies and the parts are not required the BIS license. But before that, you need to communicate with the official, the official authorities, and also you can connect with some, the good expert or the consultant, and you can get, the feedback. And now I will cover, the general steps involved in the schemax of the BIS application process. The first part I show you like the pre-registration on the OTR portal. So that portal is mainly designed for, to understand your product portfolio, like what Indian standard will be applicable on your product, because there are three major standards are mentioned under the QCO of schemax. So that one is, the type A, type B, and the type C standard. Type C standard is very, very specific to the machineries part, and the type A is a generalized standard, I can say, that is mainly focus on the safety thing and the risk assessment things. So you need to identify the proper Indian standard as per the QCO. Then the initial application technical file submission. Suppose you have identified the Indian standard for your product. So type of full application dossier, you need to submit each and every detail of your products like testing reports, product compliance reports, and the fulfill specific requirement of Indian standards along with the manufacturing process flow, plant layout, product image and description, etc. The BIS also issued the guidelines for the schemax license, so you can get the more detail from that guidelines. And then after submitting the application, again the BIS will scrutinize all the documents, which is known as per the guidelines, which is known as desk evaluation by the BIS department. So if any deficiency observed in the documents or the submitted materials, so the applicant need to submit within the prescribed limit granted by the BIS department. Then the BIS again will issue the appointment of the BIS auditors for site audit to support the evaluation of the product compliance report. A site audit of the typically 4 man days will be conducted by the team of 2 qualified auditors deputed by the head as per competence criteria. So that criteria is mentioned under the guidelines. So that is taken the reference from that guidelines only. And then the site audit at the manufacturing premises, they will generate the testing report, and they will check all the parameters which is submitted during the initial stage of the application, and they will issue the site audit report. And if everything is okay, then the license will be granted, and you can go for the certificate of conformity as well. There is an option for the certificate of conformity. That means you can get the certificate of conformity for only for the batch wise production. So during the certification of conformity, you can send your consignment only one time in India, like for only for one batch. So like that you can avoid more cost, so then the last part is the submitting performance bank guarantee agreement and indemnity bond. So performance bank guarantee will be similar and the agreement and indemnity bond similar like scheme 1, but the form is different in this, but the template is very, very similar. And the PBG is not applicable in case of certificate of conformity. And if I am talking about the operation of the license, so the BIS license will be utilized till the validity period. Before expiration of the license, renewal is necessary to continue the business in India. So these are the nominal charges for the scheme of X of BIS. These are the application fee for the grant of the license, like 2000 INR application fee, and the certification fee for the grant of the license or the renewal of license, and that is around 25,000 INR, and the fee for review of technical file, because there is a desk evaluation, the step in the whole process. So that will, chargeable around 20,000 INR per technical file. and the inspection fee and the surveillance fee and or any site visit 20,000 INR per day. And the testing charges, that will be on actual basis, and the sample procurement charges on actual basis, and airfare, accommodation, visa sports, etc. for the BIS auditor, that could vary. So if I am talking about the performance bank guarantee, so again 10,000 USD per product per license will be applicable. This security money we need to deposit to the department. Now I will come to the BIS Act and Regulation best practices, and the critical changes has been observed as of now. So if I'm talking first of the best practices, so you need to identify the scope of your products because it is very complex at the initial stage. You need to identify exact Indian standard for your product category, because sometime every manufacturer facing same problem, like they have the mixtures, and maybe the raw materials is falling under the scope of the Indian standard, but the whole finished good, if they are importing to India, that Indian standard is not applicable. So that type of the clarifications, they need to clarify all the things at the initial stage of the application. Maintain the records of each and every documents which was submitted at the initial stage. So because when the inspector will go to the manufacturing premises, they will check all the records and all the application material which was submitted at the initial stage of the application. Follow the testing part as per the product manual. So you need to identify like every testing equipment should be available if it is required as per the product manual or Indian standards in your manufacturing premises. Keep all the testing equipments fully calibrated. It should not be expired. Like, yeah, the validity of calibration is expired. So you need to maintain the logbook or the digitalized, the records, and keep a close watch on the latest amendments of Indian standards and SIT. So you need to implement immediately the latest amendment of the Indian standard, because they can insert new testing, new parameters for your, the maintain the product quality and the safety. Because BIS is actively working on the revising, on working on the, the formulating the standards and the revising the standards. I will show in the next slide like how the trend is going very, the in exponentially. And timely apply for the renewal. So sometime they are waiting for their, the expiry of the license. So that will be, another challenge for the manufacturer, because you did not get the license within 2 days or within 3 days. Most of the, the consultant claiming and the false claiming, like they can go for the renewal of the license, they can finish within 2 to 3 days or 5 days, 7 days, like that. It will take around 30 days to 45 days. So accordingly, you need to apply for the renewal and then maintain the production statement records, and it should be verified by the CA. So most of the time during the renewal, we need to provide the production statement. But the thing is that will, sometime the manufacturer don't know, like that should be verified by the chartered accountant. And so that is also, the best practices to maintain the records for your the production statement. And if I am talking about the maintain the records of the export of every consignment on the Manak online portal, so that is very, very mandatory as of now. And maybe in future, BIS is thinking, to merge the Manak online portal entries with the custom department. So during the custom clearance, so the all details, will be verified very smoothly using that, the entries. And now the critical changes has been observed, like initial validity of the license is 1 year. Previously, if I am talking about the validity of the license, so it can be granted up to 2 years. And now it's only for 1 year, and the renewal is also, limited to the 1 year. So every year you need to renew the license. And the Manak online portal updated, as I mentioned in my, the previous slide, they inserted, the MTIC, like meal test certificate ID generation. You need to upload the meal test certificate if it is applicable on your product. And the portal update for the BIS recognized labs. So they have developed the LIMS, the BIS website for to know the, the list of BIS recognized labs. So where you can, get more information about your product testings and their estimated charges. And the additional obligation under line ministries, some line ministries, suppose if I am giving an example to you, the steel, so you need to, also uh, also open the account on the SIMs, like steel import monitoring systems. Like different line ministries have issued different criteria for that. Along with the QCOs or along with the licensing, you need to maintain all the obligation at the same time to face any challenge in the Indian market. So if I'm talking about the Indian standard, that department is, department wise, you can see the new standard, the revised standards statistics. And these are the upcoming QCO in the October month. So you can see the department, the product category wise, they are issuing, the QCO, and they mention the implementation date. So you need to take care about like when the new QCO will be published and what are the implementation date for your product category. So the BIS is maintaining the product wise, because this is a giant regulation in India. It is covering a lot of sector like steel sectors, alloy sectors, or the metal sectors, or the chemical industries, petrochemical industries, fertilizer industries. So that are the chances, like you can skip these type of the updates. So you can go to the official website, or you can go through the reach 24h the cam linked website, where you can get such type of the the updates for the upcoming QCOs, like when it will be implemented. And so you can take care about the compliances as per the the BIS Act and the regulations. And that is the upcoming QCO in the October month. So that means these are the mostly, you can see there are the aluminum products and the steel products, or the some chain pipe wrench or open and sludging wrench spanner. So that the implement